Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another House of the Dragon review here. So this is going to be my breakdown of the finale. I'm going to give my overall review of the episode and give my thoughts on a season as a whole. And yeah, I'll just say in terms of season 2 anyways, I'm definitely a little disappointed in this season. I think that, first of all, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, especially towards the end of this episode. It definitely got really, really good. I thought they were going to go in a different direction, so that's why I was sad about it. But the scene was actually really, really great. But yeah, I do want to give my thoughts on this season here. So before we go any further, obviously be careful for spoilers because this video will contain spoilers for the season 2 finale. There's also some teaser trailers that have been released for A Night in the Seven Kingdoms. There's also The Last of Us season 2, so I do want to talk about that. This episode really focused on, I would say, the overall build up to the war. Everyone knows that this battle or this big war is going to be coming here. We kind of got that at the very end of the last episode, right? Like the second that Aemon saw that Rhaenyra has 3 dragons now, or she found dragon riders, he was very, like, this whole episode, he was just very nervous about that. He was just constantly, like, driven to find some sort of answer to that, right? And so, because of that, everyone knew that a war was happening. I think before this, they all sort of knew that it would eventually happen, but the second that Aemon saw those 3 dragons, it was just like, okay, this is happening, right? And so, in this episode, it was really a lot of focus on that. Like, everyone is preparing for battle. Larys at one point even says, like, to Aegon, like, we need to leave King's Landing, and Aegon doesn't want to leave, and he also doesn't really believe that Rhaenyra actually found 3 dragon riders, but Larys tells him, like, no, if you stay here, Aemond is going to kill you. Aegon wants to get rid of Aemond, but none of that really matters because Rhaenyra has 3 dragons, and, you know, if she attacks King's Landing, that's going to be it for you. And so Larys, I think in this scene really convinced Aegon to just be like, yeah, you know what? I think I'll do what you're saying. And I think we'll just leave King's Landing. And if you don't know where he goes, he actually goes to Dragonstone. So I believe at first, I'm not sure where they're going to go, but eventually he will end up in Dragonstone. And I do think for season 3, he's really going to be missing for quite a bit of it. Though it's very weird because you do see a lot of scenes in general. Like I never thought that we would see Aegon actually leaving. And so who knows, we could see a lot more than that, but I know that the reveal in the books anyways is that Aegon is in Dragonstone and then there's a big death that happens. And so I'm like, is that going to happen at the end of season 3? Based off of some of the pacing here, it seems like they're trying to slow this down a little bit. So I don't know if they'll get there in season 3, maybe in season 4, like early on or something like that. But yes, then we see Daemon, his storyline of being at Harrenhal comes to an end. And actually, there was a really cool scene in this episode that I thought was sort of, I guess, a perfect ending to all of that. I know a lot of people haven't been fans of that, and it really was a cool scene because Daemon actually saw everything. Like, he saw the White Walkers, he saw Daenerys, he saw the Three-Eyed Raven. Daemon was also in the water, obviously, like, that's the battle above God's Eye, right? And he sees Queen Rhaenyra on the throne, and he's told right as this whole thing is ending, it's all a story, but you're all but one part in it. And I think that, you know, that definitely gave Daemon some clarity. I think once he saw a lot of that, I don't know if he saw his death. I don't know if that was an actual thing that he saw. I don't know if he saw a lot of things specifically because we sort of saw what he saw, but I wonder if that was more just a way to tell us, like the audience, that Daemon saw basically the future, what happens in the past, and sort of just like everything. And so he really does like know everything, and maybe he did actually see his death, because I know that in the books, when Daemon does die, like with the battle above God's Eye, there is like a theory out there, because it does seem like Daemon may have actually survived, but no one could find his body, and there is something sort of mysterious about that. So I wonder if this is like a hint at that Daemon might actually survive the battle above God's Eye. But we see Queen Helena, and she's really expected to ride Dreamfire. Aemond is just like, no, like, you have to agree to this. Alicent gets really upset by it, and Helena just says no, and Aemond leaves angrily. And I didn't realize how much Alicent actually was sort of changing. Like, I don't know if this happens in the books, because I know what happens to her, and I get it, but I didn't think it was shown this much, or I didn't think it went this much in this direction. Like, Alicent has completely changed, and the whole thing about House of the Dragon is that, you know, there's House Green and House Black, right? But right now it really does seem like it's mostly just House Black, because House Green, I mean, who's left really? Like, Alicent doesn't really support any of that anymore. Aegon, I mean, I guess he's kind of the king, you know, like, everything is just in complete chaos over there right now. So it's really set up like House Green is about to lose. And I think that it makes sense, for the last, for I guess season 1 and a lot of early on in season 2, House Green was really winning. So I think that, yeah, Rhaenyra, obviously we know this is going to go in season 3 here. Then eventually it will come around to, season 4. Aegon will sort of make his return and all that. And then we'll see where things go, where in the end, I don't think anyone really wins. Like, no one really wins, but also everyone sort of wins. It's hard to explain. But we do see the 3 dragon riders. And I guess the only one there that was really the most disrespectful to Queen Rhaenyra was Ulf. No one likes Ulf, it seems like. Just because that one line, Rhaenyra was like, if you're a knight, like, you should have some grace and whatnot when you're sitting at the table here. And Ulf was just like, well, I'm not really a knight. And so, yeah, I mean, I will say, I do like that all the characters have some personality. Like, if everyone just sort of followed, everything Rhaenyra was saying, was being so respectful and everything, I would just be like, hey, this is kind of a boring scene because everyone's just sort of falling in line, right? And so I do like the fact that Ulf is just like a little bit disrespectful, he's just like wanting more food, this and that. And just the way he's sort of sitting at the table as well, you're just like, hey, like, you're gonna have some grace, sit there, like, respect your queen kind of thing. But I mean, it adds a lot to the scene. So when I'm looking at it character development wise, like, he's a really interesting character, and he actually, like, he is the scene in that moment. Like, he's literally making a scene, right? So, but I really like the scene with Helena when she accuses Aemond of what happened to Aegon, and she actually says something here that I'm really curious about, and she says, "You were swallowed up in the god's eye." And like, both Aemond and Daemon are like hearing their fates, right? Like, they're hearing of their fates way before it's about to happen. Well, I guess it should happen at some point in season 3, 4, I guess probably in season 4. I'm not sure where this is going to go here, but it's just really, really interesting when you're looking at it and you're like, okay, how does Helena know this? And maybe I'm forgetting, but yeah, I'm guessing she also has some powers like that, where she's able to sort of see a little bit into the future. She can see some of these things. Aemon's face in general, when he hears about the battle above God's Eye and all that to me was just really fascinating. So I'm really curious about that now, just in terms of where they go for season 3, because we kind of know where they're going. I mean, Aemond is pretty much going to get Daemon's storyline, right, for season 3. So if you weren't a fan of that, like, maybe they'll do it differently because they're going to see the criticisms, right? Because right now they're writing season 3. So I imagine, if they had anything in there that, they had from season 2, they're going to be like, you know what, let's just change this because I don't think people are fans of this. We got to make this storyline better, this and that. And I really hope there's 10 episodes, because I just feel like this season should have ended in a war, but I'll talk about that in a second. Queen Rhaenyra arrives to Harrenhal finally. Like, she finally actually leaves Dragonstone, and Daemon pledges, I guess, allegiance to Rhaenyra. And I mean, I figured this was going to happen. I mean, obviously I know the story, but I figured that he was at some point going to do that. I mean, obviously they sort of put it into question this season. I will say, like, I don't know if it's because I know what happens in the books, but it never really felt like he was sort of changing his mind. Like, yes, obviously they'd focus on certain scenes where you're like, whoa, he's really liking the idea of being a king, like, way too much, right? But I just never really fully believed it. I always sort of figured that they would be going in the direction that they eventually went in, which was he would pledge allegiance to Rhaenyra, right? Like, he would bend the knee, and he does that, and it was a really cool scene. I really liked this scene overall. Like, just after Daemon had that vision and just everything, that he learned there, I thought that was just incredible. He actually says winter is coming, and that was something that was really incredible. And Rhaenyra's like, you sound just like my father. And so it's really interesting because the whole story of A Prince That Was Promised is it's told from king to king, or I guess technically king to heir, right? And it's just sort of Grand Maesters know about this, it's written here and there. It's something that not a lot of people know about, and especially around this time, because I think the focus on The Prince That Was Promised, obviously was a big focus for a lot of people in Game of Thrones, but this isn't really a storyline right now. Like, maybe it is sort of a storyline. They're trying to make it a storyline in some way, but Daemon knows. He's just like, he knows his part in all of this here now. And so, yeah, really incredible scene. But then we see Alicent actually go to visit Rhaenyra. And I wasn't expecting this. And I will say, I kind of feel for Alicent here. Like, she just wants to leave with her daughter, and her daughter's child. And they just want to go and just live a happy, peaceful life. Like, they just want this to end. They don't want to be a part of this at all. And Rhaenyra's just like, well, you can't do that. But Alicent then says, well, just go. You can go and take the throne. Like, I'll make sure that all of our guards just leave you alone. I'll be leaving to go here. Aegon's whatever. Like, she basically worked on this whole thing. And Rhaenyra was just like, wait, what? Like, you're actually just going to give me the throne? Like, you're just going to do that, right? And Alicent was like, yeah, like, I really want that to happen. And it's funny when you really look back at that scene. I don't know what episode that was. Episode, I guess, 2 or 3, around there, where Rhaenyra went to go and visit Alicent. And Alicent just really didn't care for anything that Rhaenyra was saying there, right? But they're both essentially wanting the same thing. But eventually this conversation does get to a point where Rhaenyra says, a son for a son. And it's a very emotional way to end the season for sure. I thought the scene was so good. Definitely one of the best scenes I've seen in I don't know how many episodes. They're both so heartbroken that it has to come down to this. And they can't believe that it's come to this. And, you know, her saying that, like agreeing to it, like Alicent agreeing, like, yes, you can, you know, basically kill Aegon, right? Like, I think for Rhaenyra, she understood how hard that was for Alicent to actually, you know, have to do. But again, Rhaenyra also lost a son earlier, right? So a son for a son, it only makes sense, but it's just, the scene was just very hard to watch, I would say, in terms of just like not hard in terms of like, I couldn't watch the scene or anything like that, but it was a pretty emotional scene. And really the ending moments of this episode just focus on them marching to battle. We see Otto Hightower. It looks like he's going to be back next season. Aegon's taken away, and no battle at all. I know I left out some stuff that happened in this episode, but I just think that overall this season for season 2 was definitely a disappointment. I really wanted a lot more than what we got here. I know they're building up for season 3. I know that the you know, taking of King's Landing by Rhaenyra is supposed to be a bigger moment. And so would I have preferred them rush it here for season 2? I think what it is that this season also has less episodes. There's only 8 episodes. And so I think if you had 2 more episodes, it really would have worked. But I really feel like what they're doing here is like cutting up the seasons in terms of the episode counts based off of some of the plot in the story of Dance of the Dragons. And so this part of the story, they're like, all right, this is 8 episodes. We'll end it right here. Immediately early on in season 3, we'll get to the taking of King's Landing, the Battle of the Gullet, and a lot of that was set up here in the finale. But I just think overall as an episode, you know, like I just look at that one episode, episode 4, really great episode. There was also some good episodes here and there, but this was an average season. This wasn't a really amazing, remarkable season. I really liked season 1 of House of the Dragon. Wasn't the best, definitely. Like, there was still a lot of issues with it, but season 2, I would say definitely was a disappointment overall. It wasn't like a bad season. It wasn't any of that. It was just a disappointment for me personally, and I would just say it was an average season. If I had to give a rating, I would rate it like a 5 out of 10. Nothing really happened this season. I mean, obviously a lot of it is set up for next season, but just, you know, for what I can review for season 2, this is the only rating that I'm really able to give it. And so for season 3, it seems like there's going to be a lot that happens. I imagine that season's going to be one of the best seasons, obviously, if they do it right and everything. But they did a lot of setup here in season 2. So we're just going to have to wait and see. But yeah. So this is my review overall for House of the Dragon. I don't think I'm going to do a season 2 like review, you know, just in terms of all the episodes or ranking all the episodes or anything like that. I think I pretty much had or have said anything I needed to say in this video here. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to season 3. I can't wait to see where they're going to go. Any information on season 3 in terms of all of that, like I will do a video on House of the Dragon season 3. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, post all your thoughts down below on the finale. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.